There are lots of trees in North Carolina. Most of the time, you don't see your destination until you drive right up on it. And buried back in this little grove of pines and sycamores in Hillsborough, North Carolina, is a 1-mile oval piece of NASCAR history.
I'm just glad that we brought awareness to this track for people that had no idea it was even here.
You're looking at the place where many of the founding drivers and stuff, they came here to race. This was the place to go. What you see is what it was. If you take away the trees and stuff, you know, that's what it was.
Frank Craig and Laverne Zachary are as North Carolina and as NASCAR as it gets. As a kid, Frank lived up the road about 3 miles from here.
Well, I remember the first time I came here was 1957 with my dad, because my dad was a prison warden here. He did security along with the sheriff, so I got in free at all the races. I remember coming in down here in the pits and meeting Richard Petty for the first time. I was like 10 years old. And I walked up to him. He was working on his car at the time, and I asked him for an autograph. And he said, hold on just a second. He went over there and cleaned his hands and come back with a picture of his 62 Plymouth, signed it, put my name on it, and gave it to me. And I always said, that's my man right there.
Those races, I don't know which one it was, what was the first or second one they had, but that was in '48.
Laverne is a lifetime Hillsborough resident as well. And over the years, he has become a track caretaker.
That's him right there.
And historian.
That's kind of one of the things that I wanted to do when we started this group. I love history, and particularly the history of racing.
In the 1940s, this site was a farm with a horse track built on it. And it might have stayed that way if NASCAR founder Bill France had not seen it as he was flying overhead in his plane.
The story was, in sometime, I guess in late 46, 47, Bill France was coming over this area, and he saw the horse racetrack and thought it would be a good place to build a racetrack.
Turns out it was. And in the beginning, even though it was a brand new track, there were no fancy safety features like guardrails.
If you ran off on the backstretch, you was either going in the woods or in the river.
So when NASCAR officially started in 1949, this track, along with nearby North Wilkesboro Speedway and Martinsville Speedway in Virginia, were the big 3 tracks in the first days of NASCAR.
Oh yeah, I can still hear the engines running. Remember the cars being pushed up to the line. And I know as a kid I was sitting there with the cars coming in early that morning, just watching the cars, you know, and seeing the drivers that I heard about. You know, they were heroes of mine.
From 1949 to 1968, Lee Petty and Richard Petty and Curtis Turner and the Flock brothers and Fireball Roberts dominated the races and thrilled the fans. But 2 factors led to the demise of the track as time rolled into the late 1960s. Local residents and churchgoers had grown tired of the noise and the notorious nature of the sport that was disrupting their Sunday afternoons. And NASCAR had outgrown its dirt track beginnings. So the organization moved the Occoneechee spot on the circuit to a new track that opened in 1969 called the Alabama International Motor Speedway, known today as Talladega. And for more than 30 years, Occoneechee faded into the forest.
Oh man, it was terrible. I mean, you couldn't see the grandstands. You could hardly make out the track. The track was ruddy, and I mean, it was terrible. So we just all banded together, got tools, and started to work.
Frank and Laverne and their friends formed the Historic Speedway Group to preserve the track and its history.
Well, it was a group of guys, car enthusiasts, racing fans basically, and we just banded together, and we just wanted to do this, you know, to save this for people to know about as time went on, because it was kind of laying in the woods just forgotten.
They rebuilt the tin fence and the old ticket office and the flag stand and the concession stand with the press box on top. They mowed and raked and cleaned the place up and invited NASCAR drivers back for reunions and got the town involved in the renewal.
Well, our high school played football in the infield here. And we found a goalpost laying in the woods. We put the goalpost up, and we've invited some of the old players to come down here. They came.
And today, those old players and anybody else can come take a lap on the only remaining dirt track from NASCAR's first season. The Occoneechee Speedway Trail is now open to hikers and bikers and walkers and nature lovers. The site was added to the National Historical Register in 2002. And for those who were there in the heyday of the track, it brings back meaningful memories.
You know, spending time with my dad. You know, I lost my dad when I was 15 years old, so it means a whole lot. You know, I feel closer to him when I come down here, and I like this old place.
Well, one other cool fact about the track is that it was featured in the movie Cars 3. There is a scene in the movie called the Moonshine Scene where the cars are coming through the woods, and those woods are the animated version of the woods behind the Occoneechee racetrack. Frank says that the Pixar movie people came to Hillsborough and used drones to map out the woods around the track, and then they did their CGI magic based off of that grid. And Frank says that he and Laverne and the Historic Speedway Group all got their names in the credits for the movie Cars 3. Our thanks to our sponsor, Build Your Base with Beef. And you can check out YouTube and social media channels to find all of our stories from Midco Sports Magazine.
This has been Midco Sports Magazine, presented by Build Your Base with Beef Sports Nutrition and Training Program.